Dr. Brat, good to have you with us. Good to have you guys back to work. We're going to get something done?
Yeah, I still think the leverage is there. I mean, it's kind of on the cynical side, though. I mean, it's the failure to come up with anything, which is so disastrous to think about, because then we still own Obamacare is collapsing, and we're going to own that, and then we're going to have to prop up big insurance companies, or the whole Obamacare market falls apart because it was designed poorly. And so it's failing. Either we come up with another solution. And so my only hope is that Ted Cruz amendment makes it into the play. That's a good free market option. It allows you to keep the Obamacare product if you want, but it allows the insurance companies to sell you those cheaper rates for younger kids and for those who can't afford those gold-plated options. And those gold-plated options still come with high deductibles. And so that's been the major talking point I've had for 6 months, because it's true. And it's if we don't get around these high premiums, we haven't done the country a service.
So how would the Ted Cruz amendment work?
Yeah, it's kind of like the House Freedom Caucus provision we had that allowed states to opt out of certain regs. And then the press, the mainstream press went off with just fake news about the pre-existing conditions and all that. If you wound your way through a labyrinth of 5 twists and turns, you could find like one person who lost coverage or whatever. So we had extra money, extra assurances. It was in the bill itself. You don't lose pre-existing. And so the Senate bill may be smarter politically. It just says you can keep your Obamacare, right? So there's no debate. You don't lose pre-existing. You don't lose anything. If you want that expensive option with the deductibles that go with it, you can buy that one. And it's all subsidized, right? The Senate's going to keep the rich subsidies. I think they forgot. They ran against for repeal of Obamacare. But they're going to offer the subsidies. They may not get rid of the taxes. And then they'll allow you to buy, as long as you offer an Obamacare product, the insurance companies to offer several other products alongside it. And I think that free market option will obviously win in the long run. And then the concern there is, well, gee, you can't let the free market compete with government because everyone's going to go buy the free market product. And then you'll have a cost spiral on the Obamacare products, right? They'll become too expensive. And so they have solutions for that over on the Senate side as well. But I mean, that's the problem. Once you let the government start building products for you and messing with markets, you're in some deep pain.
All right, so what do you think of Rand Paul's plan, which is, look, if you just can't figure this out, then let's just repeal Obamacare now, but in the repeal, put a timeline on it, like nothing happens for a year, 9 months. And then you all go back and you have to find an alternative because it's gone. I don't ever see that gaining. I mean, that's too logical to work in the Senate, right?
Yeah, there's no way that we're going to get the votes for that. That was our position a year ago, right? If we would have done it a year ago, it would have made sense. And so it's got a delay where no one loses their coverage for a year while you sort it out. And what Rand said is absolutely true. First of all, you repeal it, right? You get rid of the individual mandate, the corporate mandate, all the regs and everything that make everything so expensive. And then there's not going to be any shortage of people going to light up the Christmas tree, right? When it comes time to add to the program, right? After you repeal and then you replace, there's not going to be any shortage of government solutions. So it's not hard to get Democrat votes there and the moderate Senate votes there to load it up like a Christmas tree, as Rand calls it. And so that would have been the right leverage, the right politics, the right policy. But I think we're too far gone on that already.
Okay, I've got a question here from Laura in Chesterfield, who says, what is Representative Brat's opinion on the Cassidy-Collins bill?
Hey, Laura, thanks for the question. Cassidy-Collins is kind of moderate, the moderate Senate solution on steroids, too. It's very, very expensive. It kind of keeps that logic a little bit, but it doesn't do enough on the free market side. And so they all sound nice, right? But the one piece that never shows up is the price tag. And when you see the price tag, on the Cassidy Collins piece. It's big government front and center. And I don't. We're already insolvent, right? All of our health care, Medicare, Social Security, the debt. We got $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities already. And so it's easy in the Senate. Hey, let's just do this. And that bill, I've heard the details on it, and it's very expensive.
So that's going nowhere, is what you're saying, because conservatives are not going to go for that.
Right. Yeah. There's no way. He's got 6 Democrats on that bill, and so that. I mean,
that's going nowhere. And that's basically just an extension of funding mechanism for Obamacare. I mean, it doesn't really change anything.
Right. There's no fundamental change toward a free market system that's going to lower prices. I mean, if you don't make the market work for you, the government's not going to find lower prices for you. I guarantee you that one.
Congressman, let's get to the president's trip to the G20 summit. Now, if you're looking at this from the outside and just following it like I did, because I'm part of the White House press corps, so I get the briefing. If you're just reading that, you would say to yourself, oh, he had a very successful trip. Everything he kind of wanted to do, he got done, had some good conversations. Ivanka did pretty well. Everything is fine. Go back, start anew. But you look at the fake news media and you think this was the biggest disaster. Let me just ask you this. He's in the meeting with Vladimir Putin, and he presses him 2 times, chides him on interfering in our elections. Putin denies it. What is Trump supposed to do? Walk out of the meeting? I mean, what did they expect him to do? The guy denied it. He's the president of the Federation of Russia. He denies it. Trump pressed him twice. What did the liberals, what did these people want Trump to do? Can you answer me that?
Well, yeah, they want him to fail. And so that's the thesis statement, and everything flows from that. And of course, that was, I'm not exaggerating here. And I'm always clean on if I agree with someone or I disagree. That week wasn't great. It was phenomenal. The Poland speech was Reagan-esque and beyond. It was just a phenomenal speech that laid out the pillars. I wrote a book. You all know the pillar, right? My book is just a summary of the greatest minds in Western Civ and what made us great: the Judeo-Christian tradition, the rule of law, free markets, freedom. And 1 million Poles back in '79 got together in the square, and what did they want? They said, we don't want riches, we don't want privilege, we want the freedom to worship God, along with the Pope, who at that time was just a freedom fighter and taking down the Soviet Union. So Trump, far from being chums with the Russians, that speech was the toughest speech imaginable on the Russians, that laid out the first principles by which we disagree. In the first place, we're all children of God, and we're given that dignity by God. The place of government is to protect those rights, and that's why governments are instituted by men and women. And so Trump laid out the most forceful case for the new world order the way he sees it, and that's the way I see it. And that, of course, I watched all the Sunday shows, right? I watched all of them, and they didn't capture any of this. And that was one of the most powerful speeches. That'll go down in history as epic shifting right now, right after leading from behind. I mean, you could find a stronger antidote to the weakness that we've seen for the past decades. And this is flipping it upside down. And so, of course, the left doesn't want you to hear a word of that.
Right. So you watch every Sunday talk show, and all they do is talk about nuances of some meeting with Putin. And you're right. Not a single clip of Trump's speech in Poland, like it didn't even happen. Right. Unbelievable. Epic speech, and they completely ignore it. All right, let's get to Trump's threat here. I mean, there was a lot that went on, Congressman, at this G20 summit that, it's kind of getting pieced together, but there's a lot of things that went on. One of them is Trump said, look, NAFTA, you know what? I played footsie. I'm done. I'm going to get rid of it. He said it clearly. He also said, with his Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, that the days of dumping steel and aluminum in the U.S. to put our steel industry under and our jobs under, those are gone. Ross is going to come out, I think, in the next week to 10 days with a study on what exactly went down there. I can tell you what the study is going to say. It's been nefarious actions by other governments. Well, we've just stood by to see it happen. But you've got other people coming out saying, oh, my goodness, you can't start a trade war. You can't do tariffs. It'll lead to economic calamity. What say you?
No, that's false. He's pushing to move toward a bilateral, which just means country to country negotiations instead of this, Brussels European-led mess we've been in. And that's the right move, because if another country has a trade surplus on you because they've been cheating and dumping, well, then you fight back. And if they say we're going to do a trade war with you, you say good luck. Good luck competing against the United States and losing access to our financial markets and whatever. We've always been the fair broker since World War II, right? We defeated the Nazis, the Japanese, and then went back in good faith and propped them both up, right? Our arch enemies, we propped them up with the Marshall Plan, set up markets, enabled them to become rich. And the rest of the world has some gall right now to be challenging us after we've kept the West in business. And so I don't think there's any debate there. We're going to move forward. We're going to challenge countries that have been cheating and getting away with unfair trade practices. We're going to make them fair, right? We're not going to cheat them. We're going to make them fair, and that's all he's doing. And so I applaud that attitude.
Is just trying to make it fair, no question. Let's get to another event that went down. Also, I couldn't believe all the things not covered yesterday as I went back and reviewed this. One other one is Trump there gaining an agreement with the Russian Federation and with Jordan, I believe, to create a safe zone in Syria, which is something we've all been calling for a long time, a safe zone in Syria in lieu of taking in tens of thousands of refugees, a ceasefire. That seems to be holding now. What did you make of that?
That's powerful. I mean, several of them have not held, but again, that's the nature of the fake news industry, right? This is a huge piece. He's got to deal with Russia after he's tough on Russia. In many respects, he's a smart man, and he knows you never make enemies for kicks, right? You keep friends as you can. So he tells the Russians where they're wrong on the freedom in certain countries, in certain respects, and he says, here, on the other hand, we can work together right here, and that's what he did. And then at China, he had side meetings with China and North Korea, and I mean, there's just success after success. And so I've had a little bit of fake news in the district over the past week myself. I had a little picture, a guy put up a picture with me. I didn't even know it was posted. We pulled it down. Channel 12 News, you should have seen the left go into action on this thing. I didn't even say anything. And so Channel 12 calls me. I said, why are you doing a fake news thing? And they say, well, you're now a big person. I said, well, if I'm such a big person, why haven't you interviewed me on any of the policy positions I've had for 3 years? Mm-hmm. And so it just goes on. And you can just see the architecture of this thing. It goes to the Washington Post, and then it went to CNN, and then everybody underneath them says, well, it must be real news because the fake news just posted it. And so not a word on Tim Kaine. That's the interesting piece, right? Not one word on a guy who says, I'm going to do violence in the streets out of his own mouth. To me, they got to resort to find a picture with somebody else where I don't even say anything. And it's just a political – if you can't win on policy, which is hard to do against me because we have good policies on the Republican side, it's the politics of personal destruction. And so that's what they're doing to Trump. CNN, Washington Post hit piece on me, all orchestrated. And I asked the news guys to call in, the Channel 12 news guy. I said, how'd you get this story? Where's the story? I mean, are you following, like, the pictures I post? I don't even know where I post all my pictures. And they said, no, we had many, many calls on this, right, from who? From Resist and the Soros-backed groupies. So, I mean, it's takedown at the presidential level, congressional level. It's just the way it is right now.
Just so, because some of our audience is saying, well, what's Dave's talking about? Dave, this was a picture that somebody posted on your Facebook or Twitter or something with somebody at a factory or at an event, and the guy was holding a sign up. What did the sign say? I don't remember.
It was something about Hillary and being the ambassador to Benghazi.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
make Hillary the ambassador to Benghazi.
It's just, the injustice of Benghazi. I don't think twice about it. It's a picture. And then the left just goes off, making up narratives out of thin air as usual.
And then you probably didn't even know that sign was there. Then you took the picture down. So like somebody you take a picture with holds up a sign. I mean, when I saw it, I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? I mean, this guy holds up a sign that says, make Clinton the ambassador of Benghazi. Okay, we get that. It's kind of funny or tongue-in-cheek, but I didn't find it to be offensive. I didn't find anything with it. It's just like, okay. I mean, how is that a story? How is that a story?
Any other hit on me, right? If I talk economic numbers all day, they can't say anything about that. If I talk politics and foreign policy and we're winning the day, they can't say. So what's the only thing they can do to hit you? The only thing they can do is just go in the gutter. And so, yeah, there's nothing there. And then you ask the reporters, well, did you report on Tim Kaine when he did this, this, and this? When he said we ought to fight in the streets? And they said, no. And I said, well, why not? And they say, well, that's irrelevant to your story. And I'm going, oh, really? I mean, so they're digging on Republicans. They're digging down in the basement level when it's the sun shining in bright light on the Democrat side with all sorts of issues, right? And no coverage at all.
Unbelievable. I tell you what, between what they did, and I mean, I saw your story and the fact you take that picture down, but it was like, just so our audience knows, Dave, you were in an event, right? Like some sort of a factory tour or something?
Yeah,
Where were you?
At a gun show up in Fredericksburg.
You were at a gun show.
And I'm walking around taking hundreds of pictures.
Right.
Every booth, I get a picture with everybody, take a picture.
Right.
So my guys actually, they just posted all these up to Instagram.
Right.
And then I'm supposed to know about every single picture that's posted. And that's it. And then the news finds it within a half an hour somehow of going up. And we saw the headlines and the leftists making up all the stuff. So we just said, hey, this ain't my style. I went to seminary. I don't want to inflame anything. So we immediately take it down.
All right.
And then after we take it down, it's a news story. It's pretty amazing.
It is just amazing. Congressman, we're out of time. The fake news network out there, that's why you come on my show every week so we can get the truth out there, and we appreciate you. More information, go to davebrat.com, davebrat.com. Congress back in session today. We'll see how things play out. Congressman, thanks for being with us. Go to davebrat.com.